Okay, here we go. Part two. That was a podcast. The first part David and I talked about boxing and some UFC at the end. In this second part, so David texted me before the show, and just to take you behind the curtain, we'll text and we'll have like a the Apple Notes thing where we share the topics and things we want to talk about. And he texted me and said, "Hey, I have some football questions. Football, not football, football, soccer questions." And I said, "Okay, that's interesting. Let's do it." And so I had no idea what he meant by that. And sure enough, it was about the Mexican national team, the federation, the league itself. What's wrong with them? Why is there so much corruption? And what I think about Diego Coca, the new manager for the national team. So this second part, that's what it's about, the Mexican national team. So hopefully you enjoy this conversation I had with David. So enjoy it.
It's time for soccer.
Time for soccer, the world's game.
Okay.
What's on your mind?
Okay. I'm gonna start this with a memory I have of
Okay.
the 2010 World Cup. I think
Okay.
it might even be 2006.
Okay.
I believe Mexico played Iran. I think, or sorry, Iran. I think one of those countries. This is back when the tent was still at Venezuela. You were teaching. You were like a youth teacher.
2006.
I think 2006. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first time I had heard of the World Cup. I didn't know about it yet, obviously, because I was only like 10 or 11. No one had told me about the World Cup.
Yeah.
But they're like, "Oh, Mexico's playing," and then I think Mexico won. And I remember you coming into the tent, and you were walking around screaming like "Si se pudo," and I was like, "Heck yeah, dude! Like
I had
Mexico,
my Mexico jersey. Yeah.
Yeah,
I had
yeah,
a white
okay,
Mexico jersey. I remember.
yeah."
Yeah.
And that's when the little fire, the little spark was lit in my heart and soul for Mexican soccer, right? Because I
I
don't watch any other.
apologize for all the pain that has ensued.
So, okay, and then yeah, after obviously my dad, you're a Cruz Azul guy, right? Cruz Azul, that's your
Yep.
team.
Mm-hmm.
La
Yes.
Máquina, is that what you guys say?
Yes,
La Máquina.
sir. Yeah, La Máquina.
Okay, so my dad's like a Guadalajara Chivas guy. That's the
Yeah.
house I was raised in.
Right.
I know other guys are like America, so that's what I grew up on and knew. And I remember when Chicharito was a big deal with Guadalajara. I
Mm-hmm.
think I saw him play when he was like on a lower division team somewhere in Fullerton. They brought him to the U.S. And then eventually Chicharito went to play somewhere in Europe, right? Wasn't it like Manchester?
Yeah, I went to Manchester United.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to England.
And I was like, great. And I had no idea about European soccer yet.
Right.
So I think I was in high school and I was at a friend's house and he had FIFA, right? So we're playing FIFA.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, like what team is Chicharito on? That's who I'm picking. Like what, let's get it. That's my guy. And they were like, "Oh, you're gonna go with like him, like that team?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" They're like, but oh, and then I also asked, I was like, "Yo, where are like the Mexican teams? Like, can I pick like Chivas on here?" And like they were like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And I was like, What do you mean?" And they're like, "Dude, Mexican soccer sucks. Like what? Like they're just like they're not, they can't compete with European teams." And I was like, "Let's pump the brakes. Wait, like pick your next words carefully because like this is something very like passionate about, et cetera, et cetera." But my buddy didn't know. He's like, no, dude. Like no one watches the Mexican league except for like Mexican people. Like it's just not. And that's when I started hearing terms like Premier League, La Liga, all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Right.
Then more World Cups come along. 2010, 2014.
Yeah.
2014, I remember that's when I think we played Brazil, and that's when the legend of Memo Ochoa was like born, and they started making memes,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we suck. It always ends in pain. It always ends with like embarrassment, and Argentina's always there laughing at us. I hate it. So the main question I'm getting at what is the problem with like Mexican soccer and the Mexican national team? I've asked my dad about this. I've gotten some things where I understand a little bit of what's going on, but I want to, I want to pick your brain about it. I've heard things like corruption. I've heard things like ego or like pride, or guys just sell out and only want the money, but they don't care about getting better as players. So, like, what are your 2 cents? Go ahead, the floor is yours.
What is the problem with Mexicans with the Mexican national team, right? Or you're
Yeah,
asking about Mexican soccer?
a little bit of both. The Mexican national team, and then underneath that, like our system, right? So, like the
Okay.
Mexican league itself, the players that are, is it called U17, where they're under 17? They're not professionals yet.
Right.
So I've heard that the Mexican team, the under 17 team, they like dominate. They're great, but for some reason, it just doesn't translate to when they're like professional players.
Yeah.
At least for the Mexican national team.
So okay. So the problem with the Mexican league, because this is where it stems from, is Mexico is there's a lot of money in Mexican soccer.
Mm.
And that is it's weird to say it's a bad thing when a lot of countries wish they had the money Mexico has, but this is where it's a bad thing. So in Mexico, there's a lot of money but a lot of teams are owned by, you get like clusters of teams owned by the same person. So
Okay.
like in the NFL, for example, there's 32 franchises. There's 32 owners. It's not like Kroenke owns like the Chargers and the Rams, and it's not like your boy
Robert Kraft owns like
it's
the
not
Jets.
like he owns the Patriots and the Jets, and yeah. And obviously that right there lends itself to a unbalance when it comes to the game, because if you own 3 teams, you're going to put more money on the team that generates you the most money, and you're okay with another team suffering because you're making your money on from another team. So that's one huge problem that they need to like get rid of, where you could only own one team and one team only. Another thing that's wrong is, because there's a lot of money and a lot of these teams are willing to pay top dollar for players. So it's why you'll get like Mexico will get like top players that play in the Brazilian league, the Argentinian league. Like they'll get those top players because they're going to pay a lot of money. But where it becomes bad for the federation, because you kind of have to start there to understand what's going on with the national team. And so what ends up happening is you get a guy like Chicharito, for example, who is a good young player. He's coming up. He's being showcased, and teams in Europe are starting to pay attention to him. Chicharito is a good example of when it happens right, because he was sold to Manchester United at a cheap price, and he was able to go over there, develop the whole thing. Where it goes wrong is you get a guy like Memo Ochoa, you get a guy like Cuauhtemoc Blanco back in the day. You get guys like that are good, are young, and they can show a lot of promise. And so a team from Europe will call and say, "Hey, give us, we want to take your young player," and the Mexican team will want like top dollar. Well, if you're a European team, you're not going to give top dollar for what you consider a project.
Right. Okay.
And so all of a sudden, you're stunting the growth of your young players. And sure, they're showing out in the league, and they're having good seasons, and they're top players in Mexico, but in the league. But when they go into international play, their skills are not as good because they're playing in an inferior league where you get guys like Messi, guys like London Donovan. I'm trying to pick guys from this side of the of
Oh, the
the
pond, yeah.
of the pond. Guys like Neymar, guys like that who they're developed in their own leagues, but when Europe comes calling, they make it very easy for those teams to take them, where they're selling them at a really, really low price. And so what ends up happening is the young players of Argentina, Brazil, now the US are all playing in different leagues in Europe. They're playing in better leagues, better competition, better coaching. So when they come represent their country, you're getting a way more developed player. You're getting a better player. So therefore, that means your team is going to be better because you have better players. So if you want to institute a more complex game plan, you're able to do it because your players have seen it, has defended it, have heard the verbiage. Where the Mexican player, and you hear this a lot when you listen to interviews by coaches will say that the Mexican player doesn't know how to play the soccer. That's one of the criticisms that the Mexican player gets in Europe. And it's because it's kind of like football. In football, they don't tell you when they're running a play, they don't say, okay, number one, you're going to do an out route. Number three, you're going to go down the field. And number four, you're going to do a post. That's not how it's a whole play. It's blue stripes, right. Yada, yada, yada. And either you know the play or you don't know the play. And if you don't know the play, you're not going to be on the field. Doesn't matter how good you are. Because when they call blue stripes, you're running something completely different. And that's a big problem in Mexico, where you try to put in a game plan, but the Mexican players don't know that. They never heard that verbiage. They've never played those concepts because they've all stayed in Mexico, making a good living, but their careers suffer. And that's a huge problem that goes on in Mexico because the Mexican owners want to keep everything in-house, which is good for them, good for TV, good for revenue, bad for the Mexican national team. And so that's where a big part of the problem lays right there. When you go to the national team, you get coaches that are selected not based on merit necessarily, but coaches that are selected based on who's going to submit to the federation. So, for example,
gotcha.
when a coach gets picked for any other nation on the planet, or not every other nation, but any other nation that takes soccer seriously, the coach gets picked and the coach becomes in charge of not just the main team, but the development of every single player from that country. So you'll get, for example, Germany, in Spain, and in England, and in Italy, when you watch those four leagues have a distinct game style. The Premier League, for example, the English league is physical. That's the emphasis. So the players are trained to be physically fit, to outlast, to run, to be stronger. When you go to Spain, it's more style. So players tend to be leaner, faster. They tend to move better than the English guys. When you go to Italy, it's a big focus on defense and counterattack. So you get it's way more physical. It's more it's the physicality of the English Premier without the athleticism. It's like brute force. So
Gotcha.
when you watch Italy, it's very defense heavy system and all that. When you watch the Germans play, it's like a machine. So there's precise passing, precise shooting. There isn't the style that goes on in Brazil or Spain, but it's very effective. They're all about being productive.
And the
So
fundamentals.
yeah. So what ends up happening, the coach of the national team will instruct all the coaches of the U20, the sub 20, sub 22, sub 15, sub 17. This is the style we're running. This is the game plan we're running. This is how we're training. This is what we're doing. So every single player that comes through that system is being trained the same way from the time they're 14 all the way up to the time they get to the big team. So that way there isn't any hiccups in the trajectory. So you're
Right.
able to pull a guy like Messi at 18 and put him with the big team because he's been doing the same thing since he was 14 that those guys have been doing.
Right.
So when he goes up to the big team, it's no different. And because the
Gotcha.
development is there. When you get to Mexico, it's not like that. The coach is not allowed to have that freedom to set up his own camps. He's not allowed to set up his own infrastructure. So Mexico will miss out on the coaches that really matter because Mexico will say, okay, well, we'll hire you. We'll pay you a lot of money. And to be the Mexican coach, you get paid a good living, but you don't get the power that all these other nations give you. And so that's a big problem. The other problem is you get these guys that own Chivas, América, Cruz Azul, and Monterrey and Tigres. And these guys want you to take their players because it's of national pride that their teams are representing
Right.
the World Cup. So what ends up happening is you kind of get a quota. So the best way to secure a quota is you push to hire a guy that's going to select your players. So I'll give you an example. A coach that's super popular or was super popular in Mexico, I couldn't stand him. I think was one of the few ones that didn't like him is El Piojo. He's a very popular guy, very popular with the media, very popular with the players, but he was a coach of America. So when he goes to America, he brings a bunch of America players. A bunch of America players start. And that's what you get in Mexico. You get these guys that get brought in to pretty much select guys from clubs that are that it's for the incentive of the owner, as opposed to
Right.
picking a group of 22 guys that are the best, regardless of where they play. These are the top guys I'm taking. And in Mexico, they don't get that opportunity to select the team they want.
God.
And
Okay.
so all of that is what's wrong with the Mexican national team, because it that creates a system where you don't get the best players, you don't get the correct development, you don't get an understanding and a growth within the sport that all these other nations have. So it's why you'll hear people say the U.S. has surpassed Mexico, because the development in the U.S. is a lot better.
It's improved. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a lot better just for the simple fact that the U.S. makes it really easy for their young players to go to Europe. And that alone is a huge reason. I still think Mexico is superior, but it's why the U.S. has closed the gap, because the US is all about development.
Yeah.
And that's what's wrong. That's what's wrong with the Mexican national team. So it's unfortunately, I don't see a fix to it just because
Yeah,
there's a lot of money and a lot of corruption. And
yeah, the nepotism, basically. Yeah,
yeah, you would need a guy, you would need FIFA pretty much to step in and clean house. And FIFA's not clean themselves. So yeah,
yeah,
for Mexico to be cleaned. And I think that's what sucks because Mexico has, when you look at the numbers, Mexico is always one of the highest earning national teams in the world. So they
yeah,
have the support. It's just the corruption that goes on is so awful that Mexico should be in the conversation with Argentina and Brazil, England, Portugal, Spain as like these World Cup contenders, but they're not because of there's no talent, but because all the stupid corruption that goes on within the federation, uh, which sucks because if they were to let Mexico operate like a regular federation, they would make even more money.
yeah,
So it just all of it leads to leads to the team we to the product we get, because even like Mexico will play these like random friendlies against like low level competition, and whenever they get asked, well, why don't you schedule games in Europe? Why don't you go and like play friendlies against France and like these other clubs, these other nations? And the thing that they always say is it's too expensive, which is like a slap in the face to the Mexican fan because you invest so much money so that they could go play France.
right, right, yeah, yeah,
Because those games would serve to develop, and those games would serve to get eyeballs on your players so that they could go and develop in a better league. So it's just really sad. And it's why you'll get the Mexican players that will leave to like Carlos Vela. They'll play
right.
in Europe, they'll make their money, but because there's more money here, they're incentivized by money and not by passion, which sucks. It's an awful thing.
Dang.
Yeah. Sad state of affairs.
Very sad. Okay, dang. So you mentioned like the U.S., right? And so
Mhm.
um, and you mentioned how they closed the gap. I remember when I was younger, whenever Mexico would play the U.S. and whether it was like Copa de Oro or even the World Cup, whenever Mexico played the U.S., I was always like, oh, this is like we got this in the bag. Like
Yeah.
that's it, cakewalk. And nowadays it's like, oh, we might tie, we might lose, we might even lose, we might tie. Best case scenario, we tie. But it's like it became one of those things where it's like it just wasn't a lock anymore. And then
Mhm.
does that also have to do with and you already mentioned like the developmental stage, but it does seem like the US is now getting a handle on starting the kids younger too. For soccer, because I know soccer you have to start really young, but getting them out there. Does it also help they bring in European players that are maybe a little bit past their prime, but they're still very much more skilled than American players? Like I remember when like David Beckham came to Galaxy
Yeah.
or Ibrahimovic came to Galaxy.
Mhm.
Does doing stuff like that also like in some way help elevate the game of American players because they get to see a superior soccer player operate and their skills and all that kind of stuff? Is that why they bring? I mean, obviously they want to get like ticket sales, they want to sell jerseys, but is that also an incentive for why they bring some European guys to the U.S. To
Well,
just expose their players?
they bring those guys to to level up or to bring exposure to the league itself,
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
because that's, you sell tickets. Like, there's a rumor going around that Messi is interested in coming to the MLS, and
Um,
the rumor, and so the talk is that um all of the teams in the MLS are gonna pitch in pretty much to pay for his salary, because of the exposure that Messi coming to the MLS would have.
yeah.
And so that type of stuff, it brings exposure, but what it does, it's you get all these little kids who would be playing basketball or football are now playing soccer at a younger age.
Right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
that does. So it's more of a play for the young kid that's watching, because still the best thing for the young Americans that are playing is to go to Europe, and that's
Right.
not lost on the American Federation, which is huge, which is very smart, and it's something that the Mexican Federation um, is just stupid, and they don't realize that. That the
Yeah.
best thing for the players, the best thing for the future of the federation, is that these guys go and play in Europe.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Dang. All right. That helps clear things up. Now I know why I'm sad. Now I know why it happens. So. Ah.
Yeah, so that's the sad state of affairs of being a Mexican fan.
Wait. So tell me about the coach. You initially liked the coach, but then. So what happened? Like what?
So
Because my coworker didn't like that coach. He's like, "Oh, I don't think that guy was a good fit for Mexico. I don't know why they picked him." So
in terms of who the candidates were at the end, because at the end it was between him supposedly and and um and El Piojo, and I'm just sick of El Piojo, so I didn't want El Piojo.
yeah,
So Coca is at least he's better than him. My first choice was Jimmy Lozano, which is a Mexican player, well, ex-Mexican player,
right,
ex-Mexican
yeah,
player,
yeah,
and he coached the Mexican team in the Olympics. But I just wanted him because he's young, he has that energy, and he would have been I think he would have been a good fit long term. Coca, I think it's too early, but I think he has the right idea. It's just, I think the reason why a lot of people didn't like his signing is his track record is not that great. But also he's another guy from Argentina. So it just, Mexican fans at this point are just kind of like,
it just stings. It's annoying.
yeah,
It's like,
El
yeah,
Tata left a really bad taste in our mouth
yeah,
about Argentinian managers. So I think that's a big reason why people don't like didn't like the signing of Diego Coca.
yeah.
But we'll see. It's too early. I think his big test is going to come June 15 versus the U.S. Mexico has to beat the U.S. If he doesn't beat the U.S. June 15, it's gonna be
ugly.
it's gonna be bad. So I think he needs to Mexico needs to win that game June 15.
Were you okay? Also, were you when they selected the team for Mexico for this last World Cup?
Yeah.
El Tata took some older players.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't know the names, but I heard there were some young bucks where it's like, why didn't you bring these guys up to get the exposure to play at this level yet?
Oh yeah. He also, I think it wasn't so much the older players. I think it was just so much the guys that he took that were not playing well versus guys that were
that were
playing
killing.
well.
Yeah. Okay.
So like he didn't like Mexico had a hard time scoring in the World Cup.
Yeah, it was bad.
But one of the guys that he didn't take that is crushing it in Europe. He's a young
Santi?
player. Huh? Santi. Yes, my guy
Santi?
Santi.
Yeah.
And he didn't take him. And he was leading Europe in a European competition. He was a leading scorer. And he didn't take him, and his reasoning just was like idiotic. And so that was the big problem with him. He took guys that were not playing well in place of guys that were playing really well at the time. And it just was a disaster. But I think that guy was in there to try to help Messi
disrupt.
win his World Cup. Yeah,
Oh,
that guy was awful. That guy was awful.
dang. I was rooting for everybody along the way against Messi. I was like, come on, man, please, somebody. Netherlands, Croatia, anybody, come on, please. Mbappe had to put the team on his back, and even then they could have stopped. And I was like, come on. Yeah. Even Canelo's about to throw hands with Messi.
Man, imagine that would have been amazing.
I didn't know that. Okay, obviously, like soccer is the most popular game in the world, just because every country plays it, and it's a simple game to play. You don't need much to get it done. Little kids in the street in any country can play soccer, right?
Yeah.
But I saw that Messi has over 400 million followers on the gram, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
And Canelo, who is like the face of boxing, Mexican superstar, I think he's got some 20, maybe something like that. But it's like, dang, I was like, damn, soccer and Messi himself are that big globally. I had no idea. That's crazy.
Cristiano's even bigger.
Yeah, exactly. But all those anybody that's big in soccer, it's mainly because we're here in the U.S., right? But it's crazy how cut off we are from the rest of the world soccer wise in the States.
Big time.
It's so weird. Like I saw a video where a guy was walking down the street and he was asking players, "Can you name one guy on the U.S. men's national team?"
Mm-hmm.
And no one could answer. And I was like, "Oh my!" And I was like, and then I was like, I can't name any current guys. I could have named Landon Donovan, but I was like, me either. I was like, I don't know any of the guys on this year's this World Cup's team, and I was like, man, it's weird.
Yeah, I think it's gonna take time for for it to grow, and even then, it's never gonna be as popular as baseball or any of the top major sports. But
yeah, shout out to Japan. And Mexico. And Randy.
Yeah. Our favorite nationalized Mexican.
Yes.
But I think it's definitely not going to ever be as big as that ever.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Jim. Thanks for the info and the insight into the.
Of course. Anytime I can talk about the horrible state of affairs of the Mexican national team and federation, I'm pleased to do it. But we have some boxing stuff coming up. Joshua, we'll see how that turns out. And all leading up to Tank versus Garcia, which would probably be the next time I talk to you when we discuss that one. So it should be fun. Can't wait. I'm looking forward to watching that fight, and hopefully it lives up to the billing that will be. So, but David, thanks for joining me. It's good to talk to you. Hope you're doing well, and For everybody else, thanks for listening. Elza Podcast. Until next time, see you later.